a lot of you guys are seeing people doing this. They're getting all these listings, and you're like, what in the world are you doing? Like, what's going on here? Well, let me show you. So, what I've discovered, I was in Sacramento one time, and I started thinking, sometimes when you travel, one of the good things about traveling is it takes you out of your comfort zone, and you start having, not really premonitions, but you start having epiphanies. I call them epiphanies. And so one time I was in Sacramento and I was in the shower, and I just had this epiphany, like this voice just said, where are you getting all your business? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I never really thought about it. I mean, I'm getting a lot of business and I love it. I always ask people this question, and we'll get back. I always ask them, how'd you hear about me? Like I asked Juanita this morning. You know what most people say? Exactly what she said. I don't know. I just know you're everywhere. I don't remember how I heard about you, right? Which is cool. That means you're doing something right with your thing, with you become a celebrity, your marketing. But I always want to know, like when you go into a listing, you always want to know how they heard about you. Why? What's the number one reason? So you can keep doing it. Most people say that, and that is a big reason. But the second big reason is so you can know what your job is going to be. Yeah, not only know your numbers, but that's a big one. That's a good one. But another, so okay, that's working. I'm going to keep doing that. But also, when I go to, it's Christy. I go to Christy. How'd you hear about me?
A friend.
A friend. Okay. You know what she just told me? I don't have to do any work. Her friend referred me. So her answer tells me how much work I'm going to have to do at the listing appointment. Which friend was it, Christy? And then she tells me her friend, I love her. Don't you love her too? Then we just start talking about her friend for 15 minutes. We don't even have to talk about her house. She's already going to list with me. Her friend told her to list with me. It's a done deal. Now, she said, well, I was driving by and saw your sign in the yard. I got some work to do. Tells me how much work I have to do at the appointment, right? Now, where do we get these? So I started thinking about it. I said, if I were to, I just started thinking about it. And as I started thinking, and you know what I actually did? I reverse engineered it. I looked at all the listings. Like the last year that I was unretired, okay, I did 153 deals. Not all listings, but most of them were. Over 120 of them were listings. I did 153 closings, okay, that year. So I just went back and looked at every closing that I had for like so many years, and I just put a little color code on where they came from, okay? And they fell into 3 buckets. Okay, this is what I teach too. 3 buckets. That's a bucket, by the way. That's a bucket. Okay, so I call this the 3 buckets. Now, one of the things that I like so much about my training, have you ever heard a trainer say that? I like so much about, but I like to teach stuff that's evergreen. Now, I love going to training that's the latest. Like I like learning about Facebook ads, and I love learning about funnels and all that stuff. I do all that stuff. But I don't teach that because I teach it privately to people, and I do teach it some on YouTube, but that's not evergreen. Evergreen is something that you can use today, 5 years from now, or 20 years from now. And there are evergreen things. I don't know if y'all know that, but like a book by Al Rees, The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, evergreen, okay? Think and Grow Rich, evergreen, okay? The psychology, or anyway, there's a lot of evergreen books out there, a lot of evergreen training. This is evergreen. So bucket number 1 is your sphere of influence, okay? According to the National Association of Realtors, 70% of your business is going to come from people that you know you, like you, and trust you already. People that are your friends, they're just people that know of you somehow. They're in your sphere of influence. So that's 70% of your business. The second bucket, these are your niche and your farm. Okay? The other 30% is going to come from this. So your niche, what I always tell people is, like for example, a cardiologist makes a lot more money than a general practitioner, yet they work less. They work about 30% less hours, but they're more in demand for the people that need them. You know that only 6% of Americans have heart disease. Did you know that? only 6%. So for 94% of Americans, cardiologists are completely irrelevant. Completely. They don't need them. They won't ever look them up or any. But for the 6% that need them, they're willing to spend big bucks, and it's a big enough market for them to raise their rates. A doctor, like a doctor makes about 150 to 160, okay? A general practitioner, even 10 years in the business, that's what they make. Yeah, a year, okay? A general practitioner. Now, a cardiologist can make 300 plus, okay? 250 to 300 for doing less work, okay? Because they have a niche business. When you have a niche, people seek you out. You're the person, like when we were doing short sales, that was our niche, and every single one of our listings that we ever took, we never physically went out to the house before we had the listing paperwork. We would not go out to the house until we had the listing. Does that make sense? I mean, a lot of people are like, what is that? And I just calculated like the last 300 deals that we did when we were in that space, we never went to see the house until we had a listing agreement. Once we had the listing agreement, we would go see the house. But people were calling us because we were the experts doing that. Does that make sense? It's a niche. So you can do, a niche can be, I mean, I have a whole chapter that talks about niche businesses, if you want to read about that. And then your farm is an area that you've designated, I'm going to serve this area. This is going to be my area. Now, the way you really do that layers on top of all this is just where these leads are coming from, right? So when you, remember that there's 3 different kinds of what we call traffic, or 3 lead sources, 3 different kinds of leads. There's cold, there's warm, and there's hot, okay? The hot ones are the ones that are going to list with you. That's it. They're not going anywhere else. Warm is like they're ready to list their house, and they probably will go with you, but they might want to interview someone. Cold is like people that you don't know if they want to sell, buy. It's just unknown. Most realtors spend their money on cold traffic or warm traffic, right? And they just see, here's the thing. When you have a brokerage, for example, you've got 2 things at play. You've got recruiting, you got to bring people in, and retention, okay? Most people completely drop the ball when it comes to retention, and they only focus on recruiting. And that's why a lot of these brokerages do a piss poor job of retaining the people that they bring on, okay? Doesn't matter what brokerage it is. They bring a whole bunch of bodies in, and they just look at it as a numbers game. So many will stick. I don't see it that way. I see that, for me, retention is as important or more important, like retaining a current client is more important than generating a new one. So you can actually work your client base, if you really worked it to the level that you should, to where you can be generating a lot more business, even from 100 people that you contact on a regular basis, and they commit to you to give you 1 or 2 leads a year. 1 or 2 leads a year, that's 100 to 200 referrals that you should be getting. So there's ways to work this, and I have 5 chapters. 5 chapters in here. Again, you download it for free. 5 chapters where I talk nothing about this question that you asked me, okay? But these are going to be the 3 buckets where they come from.